Ray Perkins. The combo worked for 7 touchdowns. And when it came to kicking, the 66 Bama squad had Steve Davis, the middle brother in the Columbus, Georgia family of Tide kickers. This 1966 team slipped by Tennessee in the rain at Knoxville in the closest game of the year and whipped Auburn 34-0 in the season finale. Along the way, the Tide worked for a national championship, only to see Notre Dame and Michigan tie. The Irish would finish number 1. Still going into the Sugar Bowl against Nebraska, Coach Bryant thought his team had a chance at the national title, a chance that would certainly improve with a decisive win over the Cornhuskers. The Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day, 1967. The Tide against Nebraska, one of Bama's greatest games.
The Alabama Sports Network and the Paul W. Bryant Museum present Bama's greatest games.
Jeff Rutledge. Jeff, bowl games are a great part of Alabama's football history. 67 Sugar Bowl, Alabama against Nebraska. Pretty darn good football team for Alabama playing in it.
Well, if you're going to be playing in the bowl games, you expect to be playing good football teams. In this case, Alabama still has a chance, if they can beat Nebraska, to win a national championship.
That was a question I was going to ask. Is a bowl game a reward, or is it just plain and simply hard work?
Well, it's both, but it depends on what you're playing for. If you're playing for that in that bowl game and there's a chance of winning a national championship if you win, then it's hard work, but it's reward. But if you're 8-3, 7-4 and you're a bowl game, that's just sort of hard work because there's really not a lot that you're going to get out of it. And when you go to Alabama, you're going there to play for a national championship. So you hope when you're in a bowl game, that game's for a national championship.
Well, in 1967, they certainly hoped for a national championship, and we got a treat for you on this one. We have Coach Bryant narrating the highlights of the 1967 Sugar Bowl. So without further ado, here's Coach Bryant.
Ray Perkins was pushed out in front to call the toss, and he won the toss. And I think that might have been a big thing, too, because on the first play after receiving, why, we've asked him to go into a certain formation and to find out their coverage to see if they're going to double cover Ray or double cover Holman. And they were double covering Ray, but he got open anyway and made a great catch. This is Mike Sasser, a fine sophomore from Bruton who returns the first kickoff. Surprisingly, I think the best thing that Nebraska did in the game was their kicking game, as you will see as it goes along. As a matter of fact, Nebraska played better. After seeing the film, they played much better than I thought they did. They played a terrific football game. And if you doubt it, you just continue to watch. Great blocking here. Duncan, of course, is on the weak side there with Johnny Calvert. He has plenty of time. And they're double covering. 2 men is covering Ray Perkins here. He beat them both. Stable laid it out there. Ray made a great catch. And we learned several things. Ken Meyer up on the phone. Richard Williamson was watching, of course, along with Jimmy Sharp and the rest of our coaches. So now we're down in business, and we ran a trap play, and that was Les Kelly, our big senior tailback from Coleman, who was hurt here in a couple of minutes. Here comes the option play. Kenny still, look at that block of Cecil Dowdy. Nice play by their linebacker. You're a little late there, partner. But anyway, Snake turned in there. Snake was shaking a little, and he got on the wrong man. That's like milking the wrong cow there. Here he comes on a sprint out pass again. And he does a great catch here, truly a great catch by Ray Perkins, our great senior end. Our linemen, I can't say too much for them, both offensively and defensively. We're in the I formation here. Here comes Les Kelly running with the football. Wayne Cook made a great block to the outside. Their linebacker again makes a very fine play. You're a little late again, partner. So it's the first down here. Here comes the option play. Now, Kenny Stabler very wisely kept that ball. They played the play very, very well. He scored one later on the same thing, but they had their defense set up to really stop that, and we had a pass in that Richard Williamson had suggested that might have taken care of it, but really didn't need it. Les Kelly running with the ball here behind real fine blocking. Bruce Stevens stayed with his man several counts. Cease Dowdy fired out along with Wayne Cook, and believe you me, you get blocking like that. And of course, Big Les is a real fine runner, and I believe this is a play that he was injured on. They pushed him back over the goal line. Real great blocking, and Les ran in there so hard, he expecting to hit people, and when there's no one there, he hit the ground, and that's where I think that he was injured. Real fine kick there. Old Steve Davis, whose brother set a record down there, was kicking, and Bobby Johns was holding. So we got off to a wonderful 7-0 lead. Johnny Mosley, senior. Thomasville is kicking off. Johnny had a great year. He kicks it into the end zone. Now, this frightened me when their man delayed there a minute, because I'm afraid our people would delay, and oftentimes that happens, and they'll run for a touchdown. But not this time. There's several in on the tackle there. Wayne Owens, who had a real great day, and I think Eddie Probst, and I know Kenny Martin. Now, Nebraska has a well-balanced attack. They complete a beautiful pass here. Our pursuit is good. As you can see there, Dickie Thompson and Mike Hall made the play. This is a trap play coming along here. Bob Child, Mike Hall is in on it. And they go into a double wing back. There's the formation right now. A great deal. Here comes a draw play, and they're waiting for it. And Mike Hall again, along with Charlie Harris, fine junior from Mobile. Charlie Harris had a great day, as did. Here comes a semi. It was what we call a Utah, and they had people downfield blocking, and of course they drew a penalty. They're kicking here. We rushed the kicker quite well, as you will see. Most of the time we tried to put the return on several occasions. A great effort there by Wayne Owens and Mike Hall and several of them, and they covered kicks real well. Johnny Moser did a fine job of catching the punts on this very heavy field. We, of course, were there thankful that it didn't rain. And here's an automatic, a great pass out to Ray Perkins again. Now, most of those play passes that you see here today, fine running by Ray Perkins. There's David Chatwood down there to block with for him, along with Wayne Cook. Most of the passes that you see here, play passes, are automatic at the line of scrimmage, depending on what defense they were in. And here comes a roll-out pass that we hadn't run before. And Ray, a great protection by the entire line, and Ray Perkins is wide open, and he almost scores. This fella here, he almost gets away from him. But our protection and our blocking was simply out of this world, and defensively, that's a real great effort down there. We're a little out of bounds there. Great effort down there by Dennis Holman, who I think is a great football player. Dennis is from Muscle Shoals. Is only a junior. You'll hear plenty from him, or you've already heard a lot from him. Stabler back to pass, and he throws out to Dennis Holman, who's wide open, and you see they know something about the fundamentals of football, because they really do tackle. Great blocking over there, great blocking and great running. Dennis Holman made a great block. When you see this slow motion here, that goes Johnny Calvert, a real fine block there, and here comes Dennis Holman making another block. Frank Canterbury was in on the blocking, and I think maybe David Chatwood, but a real fine blocking. But of course, by our tackle catching, pass catching tackle, Jared Duncan. Steve Davis will hold as Bobby John kicks, and they put a pretty good rush on there. So with only a couple of times, with the ball, we have 14 points, and I'd say that I'm very thankful. The rain has stopped too, and the sun is almost out. And Johnny Mosley kicks off again. Jimmy Fuller was in on that last play, making a good block. Jimmy's from Fairfield. He's another one of our fine seniors. We had several seniors that didn't start many games that we considered first stringers. I mean, several people. Offensively, for instance, we figured Bird Williams is the first stringer because he played real fine coverage down there. Kenny Martin is in on that. Wayne Owens. We had some people who's really after football. We considered Thomas Somerville a starter. We considered Jimmy Fuller a starter. Great defensive play. I'll tell you, those backs of theirs really blocked. Bob Childs was in on the play over there, and Mike Ford stripped it. Here comes a roll-out pass, hits him quick. Those are very difficult to defend against. Very difficult to defend against. Bobby John knocked him out of bounds. Defensively, we had a couple of kids we considered starters. Stan Moss, for instance. He played both linebackers and started very few games, but we considered him a starter. Ken Donahue, our defensive line coach, is a defensive coach, really, and jumping his defenses. I think that confused him a little bit. Ken did an outstanding job, along, of course, with Mal Moore and Pat Dye and Dude Hennessy, Sam Bailey. And the defense came along real well, and you look at this Nebraska bunch, they're better. There's Lewis Thompson back there rushing again. Lewis had a great play. That's the kind of a read pass right over the line. But our linebacker was looking for him, Mike Hall, and nailed him Yes, sir, our coaches was tremendously proud of them. There was a great rush there. Wayne Owens had a real fine game. Nice decision by Johnny Mosley again. So we take over now with a 14-point lead. Stabler's still at quarterback. Have fresh backs in there now. Of course, Fuller's in there now. Tommy Somerville, Bird Williams. And this time, real fine running, I think, for Frank Canterbury. Gene Rabin was doing the blocking at the point of attack. Gene Rabin running with the football this time. He's from Jasper, picked up a few extra yards. We played quite a few people. Here comes a quick trap again. I'll tell you, that number 33, Jimmy Fuller had a shoulder to him, and he's just a terrific football player. He was in on lots of tackles. I didn't realize he was mad. Jimmy Sharp kept telling me during the game that a nice block there by Gene Rayburn. Jimmy kept telling, great play there for Frank Canterbury. Frank ran right by him and tried to shake him up a little bit without touching him. It was a fair catching in football. I tell you, they after him. Real great pursuit there by 2 or 3, and of course Charlie Harris came up with it after Mike Hall had knocked him loose from it along with Richard Cole. Look at that 2-on-1 block. Great fake, great fake. Everybody did a good job. Stabler throws out to Dennis Holman. And that gentleman out there can tackle, believe you me. I hope, well, we don't play him next year. Well, I don't know whether to play him or not, but they do. I hope he's not there. Making our line fired out like it was a play. Here comes Stabler out here on a run pass. Here's one of the great plays of the game. Here's Jared Duncan making a block. Here's Tommy Somerville making a block. You're going to see another one right here. You're going to see a real good one right coming up here. I believe it's David Chatwood. Stabler made a real fine play on this. That was a real fine one with David Chatwood. Wayne Cook is down there for him. And Snake, instead of losing about 8 or 9 yards, goes down inside of the 10 or close to the 10, and we are in business again. Game was real well officiated, I thought. Both teams being real fired up. Great defensive play by the Nebraska boys. Now, that's another time, as I think maybe if we'd have had a different type of block, it might have been. Great play by Stabler here, but you see there again, they did an outstanding job of playing the option. When you have 2 men out there, and they're both coming hard, well, you can option one, but you can't option both. Stabler out to pass, and then he throws into the end zone. Dennis made a great effort for the play. Dennis Holman. Steve Davis kicks the extra point, the field goal, and Kenneth Stabler holds it and helps the official a little bit.
Alabama was out to make a point to Nebraska. I think 17 points in the first quarter pretty well did it, Jeff.
Oh, definitely. If you can get up on anybody 17 points in the first quarter, you got to think your chances of winning are pretty good.
Well, the main reason was Ken Snake Stabler, obviously the best left-handed quarterback in Alabama or any history. Let's take a look at some of his highlights in the first quarter of this game. Great pass in the early part of it to Ray Perkins.
Little sprint out. Look at the protection once again, though. I tell you, nobody around him.
And Perkins is beating his man and makes a pretty good catch there.
Great catch. Just a little bit underthrown. Had to reach back and catch it, which is hard to do when you're running full speed down the field like that.
He set up Bama's first touchdown. The second came
on an option play for Snake. Wanted to pitch it, it looked like the whole time.
Well, as we look at the replay, you can see that, but you can also see some pretty good blocking.
Oh, great blocking. Once again, offensive line. If you don't get blocking, then nobody can run, and they just did a great job of knocking Nebraska players on their back.
Well, Alabama's up after a quarter. The Snake's going to give away to his backup, though, in the second quarter. That's coming up next on Bama's Greatest Game. We're going into the second quarter of a 1967 Sugar Bowl game against Nebraska's Cornhuskers. Snake Stabler put on a show in the first quarter. What in the world made Snake Stabler a great quarterback?
I think Kenny played with a lot of confidence, and it fell over to his teammates, and they saw that he was playing and having fun playing. I think that's a key at any position. And just enjoy playing, have fun playing, and Kenny was one of those guys that if you threw an interception, he threw an interception. He'll keep coming back at you, and he just was a great leader. He could throw the football. That helps. And he could run.
Well, he's still in action. He's going to get a little backup here, though, as we go to the second quarter of the Sugar Bowl. Once again, Coach Bryant to describe the action.
Great effort there by Mike Hall, rushing the kicker. Actually, we had the punt return on this time, but Mike has the option of driving back and blocking or trying to rush, and he's pretty good hand, I would say, at rushing. Johnny Mosley does a good job here. Nice block. Real fine block by Bob Child. That was another now, I believe, by Frank Fuller. Not Frank Fuller. Johnny Sullivan. I had Frank Fuller, Kentucky. I called Jimmy Fuller Frank half the time, but that's because I'm old and doty-headed. Wayne Trimble is in there now, quarterback. Makes a beautiful pass out to his roommate, Dennis Holman. No, I don't believe that Dennis and Wayne room together. They're real good friends. Dennis picks up almost a first down. Wayne is from Coleman, another one of our fine seniors, along with the big Les Kelly and Johnny Calvert. Kelly's not able to return to the game, and is a shame, too, because he was playing real well. We expected him to have a big day. Real great running here by sophomore Ed Morgan. Nice block on a comeback back there. I believe that was Wayne Cook or John David Ritz. Great fake there, real great fake, and then the throw by Wayne Trimble. Dennis has his man beaten here, but I believe he reached for the ball just a hair too soon. A great effort by Dennis, and he'll catch a lot of those, I'll tell you, and he'll score a lot of points. If we beat anybody next year, that gentleman will get some ink, believe you me, because he's exciting and he's good. Wayne Trimble on the sprint out pass here. Nebraska does a real great job of rushing Wayne, and Wayne does a real great job of look at 4 or 5 of them out there. He stops, spots his man, and John David Ritz catches the football, and the greatest thing he does is run with it after he catches it. Jerks it loose from this man. He's from Marshtown, Tennessee. Real fine running by John David Ritz. There's Richard Brewer down there to help out with him, along with Conrad Fowler. They were in there at the time. Trimble now, handing off again this time to Ed Morgan. Is doing a great job of running. That gentleman is running low to the ground. Ed was doing well in practice all week. Sam Bailey and Ken Meyer, coaches, kept telling me that he was doing quite well. However, there's a fine fake by Trimble, Wayne Trimble. Now, that's on his own, and he picked up a couple of yards. Now, if he runs the same play this time, but he can't afford to take that chance. They did a great job on the inside play then, but with the third down and short, Wayne couldn't afford to take that chance. Of course, if he had, I think he stepped right outside then. Handing off this time, we go hard on 4th down, and Jimmy Carroll and them push him back, along with Bruce Stevens and Jimmy Fuller, and push them back for their first down. That was a big one, that 4th down play. Wayne very wisely kept the ball then because they had the option played perfectly. Here comes a good one. Here's a goodie. Jerry Duncan started out making a real great block there. Now look at that one. David Chatwood. Look at him turn number 42 a flip. Wayne turns upfield, one man between him and the goal, but look at here. He puts it in there. Bless his heart. So that was a real big one. Here it is in slow motion. I believe Dennis Holman made that other block back there. I can see very well. Well, there's a great one. Johnny Calvert made one, or is either Tommy Somerville. And Jerry Duncan, who dropped a pass later on that I'd never believed. Steve Davis comes in now, and with a perfect snap from Jimmy Carroll, he puts her down there with Bobby Johns holding. They make great effort to rush, and he kicked her through there again. Now, Johnny Mosley's kicking off after it's 24-0, and we were feeling a little bit better. You think these gentlemen give up? Well, you watch them and see. Bingo! What a goodie. Stan Moss put the finishing touch on him after John David Ritz and I believe Wayne Owens had a hold of him back there. Charlie Harris, his hands was quick enough to get a hold of the ball, but not quick enough to hold it. Double wing back again. They flip out to the inside. Another big play by Lewis Thompson, big senior from Lebanon, Tennessee. Everybody was in pursuit, though. Everyone was out there. Here comes the roll-out pass. Great play. Truly great play by Lewis Thompson. I can see why he had all the pros talking, believe you me. Our other tackle, Richard Cole, was very consistent all year and was our best tackle, really. Great rush there, and their fullback did a good job, too, in blocking. But Lewis Thompson came up with a real big play. Fine coverage by their man. Real good play by Johnny Mosley holding on to the ball. It might have been Dickie Thompson. Here comes the play pass again. He was covered. That's Conrad Fowler was covered. And Wayne very wisely overthrew him. Here comes a draw play. David Chatwood. No, it breaks out. No, it's Gene Rayburn. Nice block over there on the weak side, or the short side by... Well, as Richard Brewer was down here along with John David Ritz. Everybody played as well as they could. I think Bobby Swafford's in there. And oh, boy, look at this. Is supposed to be a screen. Make great play, though. I mean, truly a great play by Kenny Stabler. Fine running here. Terrific running there by Frank Canterbury. Blocking behind Jimmy Fuller, along with John David Ritz. Stabler back to pass again. This is meant for John David Ritz. John David has another year. He took his eye off that ball like the old man used to. Because I couldn't have caught one anyway. Here comes a draw play, and he almost breaks it. Almost breaks it. Gene Rayburn of Jasper, and he had Ray Perkins out there to block for him had he broken it. And the half ends 24-0 in favor of Alabama, and they're running off that field like champions, and that's what I like to see.
I guess coaches can be sentimental, too. Here you have Snake Stabler having the game of his life in the first quarter, and in the second quarter you put in Wayne Trimble, but it was his senior year. I guess that's the reason?
I think so, and as we were talking earlier about reward, I think this was a reward for Wayne to be able to come in his senior year, big ball game like this, and be able to get some playing time early in the ball game.
Well, and got some quality playing time. Let's look at the touchdown that Wayne Trimble accounted for in the second quarter of this football game.
Sprint out to his left. Looks like he might run here.
And he's got great blocking in front of him. Look at that block in the corner. And just shows us some speed and goes around left end, gets into the end zone.
What I like to see him run over that guy. Quarterbacks aren't supposed to be tough like that.
Wait a minute. This was a quarter. That deserves a second look just because he does run over some. But look at the block thrown here on the end, and then good speed.
Great speed and great determination to get in the end zone.
And yes, indeed, he does run over somebody at the goal line. Wayne Trimble scoring for Alabama in the second quarter. Bama's having its way with the Cornhuskers. We'll take a look at the third quarter next on Bama's Greatest Game.
It was down there, gentlemen. I'll tell you, Wayne Orange is going to be we know, of course, going to be a real fine football player. He's from Gaston. He could play most any position, I think, but great play here by Bobby Johns. As we said earlier, Bobby had a big day. Bobby was an All-American halfback on defense. He's from Banks in Birmingham. And our sophomores all played well. Everyone played well. I think some 50 players played. I wish we'd played them all, but they got the ball back down there. Mike Hall, big linebacker, was in on that. Mike's going to be a great one. I believe he has pride enough, and if he does, he's a cinch to be a great one. Charlie Harris with his hands up. Very fine play by their passer, though. They ran a nice sideline cut. He caught it inbounds and just stepped out. Of course, at the time, I always think those out of bounds. If it's their side, if it's our side, I think it's perfect, see. Intercepted here by Bobby Johns. Bobby was playing the ball very beautifully, of course, and our two ends, Ford and Harris, put the pressure on the passer, caused him to rush it a little bit. We have a fumble here. Kenny Stabler had a real great day, but he's following his ball carriage. Here's the option play. Out to Frank Canterbury. Frank gets some yardage. Kenny was following him on the draw plays and hands off in the middle. He was helping the defense a little bit by following his ball carrier, making sure he looked the ball in, we call it. Pass, drop back pass. Kenny Stabler in the pocket. He runs out of the pocket. Now he sets up, and isn't that a beauty? Oh, real tough catch, real tough catch. It was meant for Frank Canterbury. So we kick off with a spread punt with Steve Davis. Steve gets the ball off very well, quickly, which is vitally important. Here now, this guy did a real fine job. Actually, we didn't do a very good job. Jared Duncan made the tackle, but we didn't break down and then be in a football position down there. I think we thought he wasn't going to handle the ball. Nice fake screen out to the flat. But it's nothing there, I'll tell you. Great play, a real fine play. Here's the option play. Probably the toughest play they had for us to defend was that one right there. And you see this fella here run. Now, I want to point out that I think to show you the effort, the desire, Mike Ford came all the way from the other side, trailed the play all the way and finally was in on the tackle. And that, gentlemen, is what you call, or ladies and gentlemen, what you call 11-man effort. Quick flip out to the fullback. Mike Ford's out there, but there's David Bobby Johns up behind him. Bless his heart. I told Bobby after the game we worked on his pass defense a little bit during the spring while he might be good enough to play. Of course, I meant to be facetious, whatever that means. Nice play by their man out in the flat. Dickie Thompson's had the deep third, and Wayne Owens had the short fourth, and had Wayne Owens again out there. I haven't paid too much attention to the grades, but Wayne Owens must have been in on lots of tackles. Real fine play here by their boy blocking, too, I'll tell you. We were a little heavy-footed there. Kind of had a little lid on our feet because we might have intercepted that one. He's back to pass, and here comes some, look out, there comes little Mike. He threw it, and intercepted? Should be, yeah, that's got to be. Bobby Johns is back there. Actually, to change direction and go for the football on a heavy field is difficult. Bobby Johns intercepted that great play would take over now. In other words, a thing that might surprise. Here's a trap play and a beauty. Bless his little heart. The trapper on that particular play was Johnny Calvert, one of the most dedicated football players I've ever known. Here's a throwback to the tackle, Jared Duncan. Come on, Ray, get in there with him. Jared Duncan, don't you fumble. Oh, he'll die if he fumbles that ball. Nobody rather run the football than Jared Duncan, and he's a great one. I believe Jared Duncan likes to play football better than anyone I've ever been around. I guarantee he'd go out and play some Sunday morning after playing all day on Saturday. Nice protection here. Stabler throws out in the flat. Ray Perkins makes a fine play. Ray. I don't believe Ray pitched that out of bounds on purpose. I really believe he's kind of lucky he went out of bounds, but he does so many things, that doesn't matter. Great block here, real fine blocking. What really happened, Coach Sharp had him cross-blocking on that particular play. Nice downfield there. But Jimmy Fuller blocked out, and Cecil Dowdy rocked to the inside. Jimmy Carroll blocked his man with the flow, and it just opened up just like coaching school. That one didn't open up like coaching school. Ed Morgan was running with the football. Here comes a rollout pass. Stabler throwing. Ray Perkins. And look here, would you? Go ahead. Don't let him get you, Ray. And he turns it on. He has a man down here, a couple of them. Dennis, his old flanker put is trying to hip him down in, so is Wayne Cook, our tight end, but very wisely they didn't try to block because they would have clipped. That's just a different version of our cross pattern that Coach Meyer and Coach Williamson wanted to run, Coach Bailey, that I think helped us a great deal. Real fine defensive play here. We had another version of the cross to a different man or to a wider man that Perkins scored one touchdown. I think completed both times that we hadn't had before. Oh, Jerry. That was a tackle eligible, and Jerry Duncan could have cut his throat, mine, and anybody else. He took his eye off the ball, I really think. Looked like he had an easy touchdown. Terrific blocking here. Real great blocking. Look at Cecil Dowdy just stay after him. Just all of them staying after him. There's Ed Morgan getting in on it. Stabler very wisely didn't throw the football. They were covered, so he runs it forward toward the goal line, picks up a first down. Terrific running by Kenneth Stabler from Foley. That gentleman will be heard from, I'm sure. Stabler holding. Steve Davis kicks it through there. We didn't have the greatest protection I ever saw then. They got it down and up and over real fast, or it might have been blocked. So Alabama's out in front now, 27-0.
We've talked a lot about the offense through the first three quarters of this football game, and it's been pretty awesome. The defense has been great in this football game, Jeff.
Well, when you shut 4 teams out, the previous 4 teams they had played leading up to the bowl game, they didn't let score. And so when you're going into a bowl game, you know Nebraska had to be wondering how they were going to score against Alabama's defense. And then they proved once again what a great defensive team they had.
It means 19 straight quarters without giving up a touchdown. And one of the big reasons is a guy you know, and that's Bobby Johns, who was an All-American, has some interceptions in this Sugar Bowl.
What a great defensive back. And I had the privilege in high school of him to be my coach my freshman and sophomore year.
Well, Bobby John's one of the stars. We invite you to stay with us. The fourth quarter of the 67 Sugar Bowl is coming up next, right after these words from our sponsors. Really taking care of the Cornhuskers. And Jeff, we're going to see something here in the fourth quarter that was unique back in the 60s. It supposedly was an innovation from Coach Bryant. The tackle-eligible pass. Jerry Duncan's the guy who's going to get it here. It's another one of those unique plays that you say you even used in the pro ranks?
Well, in Washington, we would call it an unbalanced line, and we would just take our guard who was lined up on either side and move him to the other side, which made our tackle eligible. But we never tried to throw to him or anything like that because those guys couldn't catch.
Well, and if they could catch, they probably couldn't run, although they might have been able to run over somebody.
Well, Refrigerator Perry could.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the guy that we're going to see catch the tackle eligible here is Jerry Duncan. And I guess if you went around the country and talked to college football fans, very few would know the name of an offensive tackle. And yet Duncan has basically made a career almost out of being the eligible tackle.
Alabama fans know who he is real well.
Well, we're going to see the tackle eligible now as we get into the fourth quarter, and sort of a proud narration on the tackle eligible play. Once again, for the fourth quarter, here's Coach Bryant.
Full house backfield. Now here comes a beauty. Here comes a beauty. Tackle trap action. We lost our man. He's wide open. Perfect pass. Great catch. A lot of speed, power. He goes into the end zone. So Nebraska scores. A beautiful play. Really, truly a well-executed, beautiful play. Beautiful for Nebraska. We didn't put the rush on there. We thought they might go for the two, and we were willing to give them the one rather than to go for the two, because the two later on could be a real big thing. So we were playing for the pass, for the fake field goal. So they kick off. We're receiving. Mike Sasser gets it. No, Mike didn't get it. Donnie Johnson got it. Donnie's a sophomore from here in Birmingham. They covered kicks very well. Real well. We don't work a whole lot on receiving kickoffs, because we don't plan to receive too much, and we don't want to waste all that time. That's some real fine running. Terrific running. I believe that David Chatwood. Stable's back at quarterback now. Here comes a trap play again. Nice trap block there by Tommy Somerville or either Johnny Calvert. We had to go for the first down here. Stabler very widely ran on a quick count behind Jimmy Carroll. It's Bruce Stevens. And for the first down, Stabler fakes his running play again. It's a play pass. Dennis has it out there. Dennis Holman from Muscle Shoals. And that boy, I tell you, all those Nebraska boys could tackle. Old Bob Devaney and his staff, not old Bob Devaney, but Bob Devaney and his staff, I think, do a terrific job on fundamentals. And, of course, here comes a real fine run, real tough running. We have a flanker over formation here. We just plan to do a couple of things. Here's one of them. Real great play by Kenny Stabler. He could have had a big loss, but here you see nice block over there by Wayne Cook. Terrific block by Wayne Cook, and Ray Perkins goes in for another score. Look at this. This is the play that Coach Williamson wanted to put in, that we threw twice, completed twice, one for a touchdown. But without Stabler's terrific play there, without this block of Wayne Cook, well, of course, about the 11 men, it wouldn't have been. Look at Perkins turn it on. He has that tremendous speed and great desire. Ray Perkins, truly a great football player and a great young man, a great leader, and I think is going to do quite well in anything he goes into, starting with professional football. So Bobby Johns is holding now, and Steve Davis is kicking. And they put a good rush on. So Steve kicks it through there, and between the Davises, they've scored a lot of points in the Sugar Bowl. I expect that's a record no one has thought about. I'll ask Charlie Thornton that the Davis brothers, any two brothers ever scored as many points kicking in Sugar Bowl competition. So Johnny Mosley's kicking off. Dudley Kerr, our other fine kickoff man, kicks in certain situations. But then we're ahead. Johnny normally kicks off because he's had more experience covering. And there's Mike Ford down there, along with Mike Sasser and Bunk Harpo making the play. Sprint out pass. Now, he almost made a great catch, in spite of the fact that Wayne Owen was right there out there with him. There was some noise on that play, though. Great play here by Lewis Thompson again. Lewis is a big agile. He's agile as a cat. Lewis plays high, which is a disadvantage sometimes, but he'll come up with that big play. Back to pass. The protection was all right then. He ran a nice cut. He's open. He's tackled repeatedly, of course, by David Bedwell.
And now we pick up the action several plays later. Again, Coach Bryant.
He has plenty of time to throw here. Plenty of time to throw, but Mike Sasser, no, this is not the one. Bobby Johns came all the way across from the other side and intercepted the ball. They had very fine sudden change here. There's a block by John Sullivan. Real fine running by Bobby Johns. Everybody's trying to block, but I tell you, those rascals out in the open field, they're so big that you're liable to bounce off of them. Oh, that's why, because we were dropping back and weren't rushing. Wayne Trimble fakes, back to throw. Ooh! Not a chance. Trimble didn't see the man. Our protection broke down. He hit him from the rear. There's one, he didn't break some ribs. Real great running here on a draw play. Real great running by Kenny Martin. Frank Canterbury down there always hustling. Wayne Cook. They ran one time for 15 yards and caught one pass. He probably didn't play enough. Now on that, it looked like it was a grounded ball. It wasn't at all. Snake thought Dennis was going to run the sideline cut, and Dennis ran a takeoff. In other words, he faked it and then took off, and the ball was in the air. One is thrown on a much quicker count than the other one. Real fine pass by Wayne Trimble, getting it off at all. It's difficult to hold. Trimble back to pass again. Ooh, almost a TD. Great effort, of course, by Dennis Hoban from Muscle Shoals. Dennis is a junior, and I think a great one. We just liable to have a couple of, we won't have a Perkins, but Donnie Sutton or one of those kids just liable to come on. We're going to have a couple of good receivers. We need some blockers next year is what we need now. Fine pass, fine play by Nebraska. Mike Sasser made a great play there. Great effort for the ball. He knocked it up in the air. Bob Childs intercepted. Sudden change. That means go to block it. Bob hasn't had much practice running with the ball. He's carrying it kind of like a watermelon there and got knocked loose from it, and they recover. I didn't mean that critical of Bob at all. He didn't see the man, and the man tackled a football just like he's supposed to. But Mike Sasser came up with a big play on him. Here's a throwback pass. He had a long time. But it's intercepted again. A real fine play. He's well covered back there by Bobby Johns. Bobby makes a great block here, but Stan Moss made a great play to go back and intercept it. See, Stan put two hands on the football because he used to be a fullback, and he used to carry the football. So we take over. Joe Kelly's in at quarterback now. We don't block too well there. Our timing wasn't too perfect either. So Joe's going back to pass. No, this is not time. Yeah, it is too. Joe's back to pass. He's from Ozark and going to be a good one. He completes it out here to Kenny Martin, and Kenny Martin puts on down the sideline. It looked like for a second he just might score. No, I was wrong. Two gentlemen down there to be between him. So it's nice to see Joe complete his first pass in the game. Joe's going to be a real fine one. He has a real fine picture of what's going on. He gets a little initiation there, though, I'll tell you, because they put the big rush on. Kelly back to pass again. They do put the big rush on again. And he's fortunate to get it away. They intercept this one. And did a real good job of sudden change himself, running it back to midfield. They're still in double wing back. They run a roll-out pass here and throw it out in the flat. They do an outstanding job. Great catch for there, man. We got to play him a little loose. It's Donnie Sutton out there covering him. You can't cover him too tight in a situation like this because they're afraid you're going for the bomb. You see, Nebraska hasn't given up at all. They haven't quit. They're all standing up over there along with their coaches. He's back to pass. He's a little deeper this time. Great effort then great catch by their boy. Great effort back there then by Wayne Stevens. Less than a minute now. Oh, double wing back to pass. He gets a terrific rush by Thompson, a great rush by Thompson. But that was a great play by Churchy. Johnny Sullivan back there makes a play, or I believe it's Johnny Sullivan or Mike Riley. Their quarterback made truly a great play out of that because Thompson had him nailed. Throwing on the sideline again. Fine catch. They don't let him get out of bounds this time. Donnie Sutton tackles him, so they take a timeout. Only seconds to go now. Here comes a real big play. Of course, our players there don't want him to score. Throw out pass again. There it is on the ground. Lewis Thompson comes up with it. So that was a goodie. Alabama takes over. Excuse me. Alabama takes over. They have no timeouts left. Wayne Trimble's going in and running the clock out. As a matter of fact, we don't even have to put the ball in play because it's less than 30 seconds. About 24 seconds. We have 25 seconds in which to put the ball in play. They start the clock. Even the Nebraska boys are convinced. All but this one. What's the matter there, fella? So it's a great victory. One of the greatest, I think, in history for the University of Alabama. And there again, it's not enough that my vocabulary doesn't limit. It's too limited for me to praise the players and the coaches and everyone that's part of it. And believe you me, everyone is a part of it for the great team. I'm very grateful to everyone, and most of all, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity and the privilege of being associated with the players themselves. Isn't that beautiful right there? Alabama 34, Nebraska 7.
Won it 34-7 over the Cornhuskers of Nebraska, and in a surprisingly close vote, Kenny Stabler won the Most Valuable Player honors, but Ray Perkins was a close second. That's a pretty good combination regardless.
It is. You probably should give it to both of them because somebody had to get the ball into Perkins' hands, and that would be Kenny Stabler, but then Ray made a lot of catches, so you have to give him credit as well.
And Jeff, you played in some bowl games, a very important one in 1979 in the Sugar Bowl. This was a big win, but it didn't yield a national championship. I'm sure it had to be a major disappointment for this football team.
It is, especially when they're going into the Sugar Bowl with a chance to win the national championship. You beat a team soundly like they beat them,
right,
but just don't get enough votes to win. I'm sure it was very disappointing.
In this first season of Bama's Greatest Games, we were unable to do your Sugar Bowl game, and I refer to it as your Sugar Bowl game, the '79 Sugar Bowl, in which you won a national championship with that great goal line stand. We've talked a lot about national championships. What did it mean to you to win a national championship in that football game?
It meant everything to me because that's why I went to the university. I had chances to go elsewhere, but I knew I wouldn't be playing for a national championship to do that. We were just short my junior year. Senior year was the last chance to have that opportunity. And fortunately, we were able to play Penn State and beat them in a great football game.
Well, it was one of 12 national championships for the Crimson Tide. It's one of the reasons that Alabama has such a rich and colorful football history. The 1967 Sugar Bowl didn't yield a national championship, but Bama beat Nebraska 34-7 in one of the Tide's greatest games.